A large red circle had been painted upon the floor in front of the altar. Satan took his place by the altar, flames running up and down his back. And as he did so, a red cover miraculously appeared on the stone. A monstrous spider picked its way across the cloth. A vampire bat with pointed, rumpled, squinting face and claw-tipped wings perched on the altar's edge. And on the altar itself there appeared a shiny knife with its handle in the form of a snake. The fire on Satan's back flared up angrily, and his tail shot out at Michelle, wrapping around her legs tightly so that she was compelled to stand erect. I can't finish it without smiling. I really can't. What am I reading here? A trashy horror novel? No. Would you believe I'm actually reading an excerpt from the very first book ever to be published on the subject of the satanic ritual abuse of children. This is Michelle Remembers, written by Lawrence Pasner and Michelle Smith, who was his patient, in 1980. It allegedly tells the story of Michelle's abuse at the hands of some underground satanic cult. What do you think? Do you believe it? Was what I read not completely ludicrous? Now, just to add something more to this, Satan, for some reason, when he appears, he always has to speak in rhyme. And it's really bad poetry. I mean, listen to this. The knife is ready. It is time to begin. It has been poisoned and sharpened very thin. Let me find some more. Oh yeah, there's a bit where Michelle steals one of his ritualistic bones. And he says, "I want that bone. How dare you take my bone?" It's like a musical. In fact, hang on a second. We'll have to do this right. We have to do it right, okay? That's more like it. "I want that bone. How dare you take my bone? Give me back the bone that's mine. Then everything will be fine. Just go back and get the bone. I will let you go back home." And that's just the tip of the iceberg. What do you think? Did it really happen? Actually, the whole account has been discredited. But this was the book, and this is the self-proclaimed expert, Lawrence Pasner, who was involved in over 1,000 cases of satanic ritual abuse throughout the 1980s. Finally, the whole phenomenon was debunked in the FBI's Lanning report in 1991. It investigated 300 accounts of ritual abuse and found no physical evidence whatsoever and had to conclude that this was all made up. There are still conspiracy theorists today, of course, who still believe this sort of thing goes on. David Icke would be one of the main ones. He's always talking about this. But it really does come down to evidence, and there doesn't seem to be any. I mean, crazy stuff in this book, like the Virgin Mary appears at various points, and for some reason she speaks in French half the time. Now, French wasn't her original language, that would have been Greek. And French isn't Michelle's language either, so why does the Virgin Mary speak in French, other than the fact that it sounds kind of loving and caring and romantic? So this was the book. This was the book that started the Satanic Panic. And it's false. It's a lie. So, I mean, it has to be one of the most spectacular, unexpected reversals in history. When you've got Christians, you know, looking at occult groups and things and accusing them of all this ritual sacrifice. But where do you find it really going? Where do you find the widespread abuse of children really going on? Within the Catholic Church. You know what I'm saying? And yet there's still people who think there's this underground network of Satanists who capture children and molest them in ritualistic fashion and maybe even kill them. And what is it that they accuse occult groups of? Right? It's animal sacrifice, human sacrifice, harming children. But what do you find when you look at the Bible itself, when you look at the far past history of Christianity right into Judaism? You find the ritual abuse of children, commanded by God. What am I talking about? Circumcision, of course. Genital mutilation of a baby for no real reason. And you find child sacrifice of a sort as well. I'm talking about, Abraham and Isaac. God commanded Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac, and at the last moment, God relents. But he's really pleased by the fact that Abraham was willing to do it. He literally tells him to stop when the knife is right over the boy, And Christianity itself, it's based on the sacrifice of its own God. It's just like there's a level of... And of course, I'm forgetting about animal sacrifice, People talk about Satanists and animal sacrifice as if this is really going on, but they seem to fail to notice that in the Old Testament there was a constant flow of animal blood all the time. Think of the tabernacle, and how the religion is described in the book of Leviticus. The animal sacrifice just never stops. And it's all on the side of God, or of Jehovah, the God of the Hebrews. The same God as the Christian God, apparently. So what do you make of that? I mean, Christians, I'm just asking you to think about it before you start. This is important to me because I have a completely ethical interest in the occult. And yet I get tarred with the brush of being the bad guy for that, when it's done out of complete ignorance, not only of what the occult is, but a complete ignorance of the history of your own religion.